Maybe you're a group of young, nervous magic users at your first year at an arcane school. Or a coven of witches protecting your swamp from an angry mob with pitchforks. Or maybe you're a group of Morgoths who bought the actual real Necronomicon from Dave's Dark Delights on level 2 near the sunglasses stand, and sure, there's a pack of demons hunting you now, but you all have these sweet magic powers. Hi, I'm Jake. I make tabletop role-playing games under the name Skinned Knees RPGs, and whatever the setting, Sorts is a one-page tabletop role-playing game that uses letter tiles for creative spellcasting and magical hijinks. All you need is rules, paper, pencil, and a set of letter tiles. That's right, no dice. This video is going to be an explainer on some of the rules. It's a one-page game, so there's not that much more than this, and it's pretty easy to learn. The main thing you'll be doing in Sorts is casting spells. So how do you do that? Well, every player has power. It's the only thing you need to track as a player in Sorts. It's a combination of how powerful your spellcasting ability is and how healthy you are. Your power starts at 3, and you die if it reaches 0. Every player character should always have a number of letter tiles in front of them, randomly drawn, equal to their power. When you want to cast a spell, you say, I'm going to cast a spell. And then you state that spell's intention, what you want it to achieve. Something like, I want to cast a spell to get through this locked door. Or, I want to cast a spell to cause a distraction. Or, I want to cast a spell to help me across the river. Once you've stated your intention, you draw 5 tiles randomly, and then you have about 30 seconds to make a word that's at least 3 letters long, using your power tiles, the ones already in front of you, and the 5 tiles you just drew from the bag or a face-down pile, whatever works at your table. At any point during the 30 seconds or so that you're trying to make a word, another player can offer you one of their power letters to add to your word. This will help you make the spell. You can only ever add 1 letter in this way. Imagine this is your fellow spellcaster joining in on the casting of this spell. The word you make is the spell, and you, along with the GM, describe what it does towards solving or achieving your stated intention. For example, I want to cast a spell to get through the door. That's the intention. I draw my tiles, and I manage to make the word unlock. Perfect! I describe how I summon a magical key. It slides into the lock, and with a twist of my wrist, click, the door unlocks, and we continue on our adventure. But maybe I make the word bull. I describe a large, horned bull appearing in front of me, and it charging the door and smashing it down. And then, the GM says, after smashing the door, the bull skids to a stop. It turns around, glaring at you, and charges towards the party. As long as you can justify how your word is in line with your stated intention, your spell should work. Though, like the example above, maybe it'll add more complications. Magic's kind of squirrely like that. So, what happens if I can't make a word in the 30 seconds? Or I misspell a word? Well, this is where the GM gets to have some fun. They take your letters, and now they have about 30 seconds to make a word that describes the mishap that's created when the spell fails. Maybe you're trying to cast a spell to sneak past some guards. You can't find a word in time, and so the GM takes your letters and makes the word alarm. As you're attempting the arcane words needed for the spell, you open your mouth, and a wailing alarm sound screeches across the courtyard. Now, those guards are coming to investigate. Or maybe you're trying to save a friend who got turned into a fish earlier when they misspelled a word, and the GM took their letters and made the word bass. You can't find a word in time, and so now the GM takes your letters and makes the word many. Now there are 100 bass flopping on the riverbank. Which one's your friend? This example actually happened in one of the playtests I ran. Whatever happens, when a spell or mishap is resolved, you discard the word. Make sure you then have a number of tiles in front of you equal to your current power by drawing randomly if you have less tiles, or discarding tiles of your choice if you have more. So, that's the basics of spellcasting. But what about power? Well, as I said earlier, power is your only stat in Swords. If you ever get significantly hurt, you lose 1 power. If you get severely hurt, maybe you'll lose more. And if your power ever goes down to 0, you die. But hey, your friends are spellcasters too, so maybe they can bring you back, but even if they succeed, you
probably won't be the same as before.
Those with power usually want something, and that's
More power!
So, how do you get it? Well, anytime you make a spell with 6 letters or more, or you use a J, Q, X, or Z in a word, you increase your power by 1. A good night's rest will also increase your power by 1, but only ever to a maximum of 3. You can also attempt to heal yourself or someone else with a spell, but like sleeping, this will only ever recover 1 power and only to a maximum of 3. And each player can only attempt a healing spell once per day. So, the more power you have, the easier it is to make spells because you have a bigger pool of letters to choose from. Players can also choose to spend power to draw more letters, add specific letters to their words, or even team up and do a combo spell. There's a couple more things you can do with spending power, but you can find those in the free rules down there. That's most of the basics. Things get a little bit different if you're fighting people or in a similarly high-stress situation where taking turns will help play the game more smoothly, but you can find those in the free rules or in a future video. I'm hoping to run a Kickstarter for the fully illustrated 16-page zine version of the game later this year or maybe in early 2027. It won't include any more rules than the free 1-page version, but it'll be a nicer presentation. So, this has been the basics of spellcasting and power in my 1-page spellcasting letter tile tabletop role-playing game, Swords. If you play the game, I'd love to hear how it goes. My name is Jake. I make games as Skin Knees RPGs. Thanks for watching.
Hi, Editing Jake here. So, it just so happened that in Australia at about 1:30 today, the government was testing a new national alert alarm where it will go off on everyone's phone with a really loud alarm with some sort of, if there's a national emergency, I guess. And it was the most bizarre coincidence that it just happened to be when I described a mishap being an alarm going off, this literally went off. Unbelievable.
As you're attempting the arcane words needed for your spell, you open your mouth and a wailing alarm sound screeches across the courtyard.